What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 41 of the Downtown Browntown podcast. I'm your host, Downtown Brown. Today, we're going to discuss the Bucks evening up the NBA Finals 2-2 last night in Game 4. Bucks take home the victory 109-103. Going to discuss all the key factors with the game and just kind of preview what the rest of the finals could look like here. So before we do that, just want to make sure to remind everybody to please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. That way you can stay up to date on all my future content as it is posted. And make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well. Twitter, I'm at downtown_Brown, and Instagram at downtown_Brown33, all lowercase for both of those. And if anyone else is interested as well in listening to my appearance on the Gimme a Buck podcast, it was recorded after Game 2. That can be found on the Gimme a Buck podcast page on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, their Twitter page as well. So if you want to, I know it's a little bit outdated, but if you want to hear that appearance, it was a lot of fun. Those guys are a good time. So make sure to check that out if you haven't already. So let's go ahead and get started here. Bucks taking home the victory last night, 109-103. Really a scrappy game for pretty much throughout the entire game. Bucks really not playing well for most of the game until the last few minutes when they were able to close the game out and play extremely well. First quarter, the Bucks just could not get anything going offensively. Only had about 4 points within the first 4 minutes of the game, and it was tough to watch. It just wasn't like the Bucks that we saw in Game 3. Obviously, in Game 3, the Bucks really had all things going offensively. But again, here in Game 4, shots weren't falling. Giannis looked out of rhythm to start. Jrue Holiday couldn't get anything going. Chris was pretty decent, but really it was just a very tough start for the Bucks in Game 4. Didn't look like they had a lot of energy out there. And Devin Booker came out aggressive. He was making shots early, rebounding from his bad performance in Game 3, where he only scored 10 points. Devin Booker was absolutely fantastic last night. And we saw that right from the get-go. So really, it was just one of those games that the Bucks just had to grind and get a victory. We'll just talk about kind of the overall complexion of the game here. So obviously the Bucks are they're down pretty much the whole game, able to get a few leads here and there, but late in the fourth quarter is really when the Bucks started to pick things up. Pat Connaughton hits a huge three, big shot Pat, as I've been calling him all playoffs. He's hit some absolutely huge shots against the Nets, the Hawks, and now against the Phoenix Suns in the finals. And he hits a huge three to get the Bucks up by 2. Devin Booker gets a quick 2-pointer to tie it up. And then it's really just a dogfight at that point. We see Chris Middleton score 10 consecutive points late in the fourth quarter. I think it was in the last 2 or 3 minutes to get the Bucks the victory. But Chris gets a bucket to go up 2. And then obviously the block happened. Giannis blocking DeAndre Ayton's alley-oop. That was insane. That was one of the best plays in NBA Finals history. There's no doubt about it. Just for him to know that Ayton was behind him and to be able to basically, he took one baby step off his left foot to jump and not only get to the ball, like a lot of guys would just get dunked on in that situation, but for him to actually block the ball, tip it away from the play. And so the Bucks were able to get the ball off of the block was just shows how strong Giannis is. And man, that was unbelievable. I was at the game last night, and that place erupted when that happened. And then obviously the Bucks take it in transition. Jrue passes it to Chris. Chris gets hacked by Devin Booker. No call, but still able to finish the tough layup there. Bucks go up by 4. I don't think I've ever heard it that loud at Fiserv Forum after that whole sequence happened with the Giannis block and then Chris finishing that layup. Bucks go up 2 there with like 50 seconds left, or 4, sorry, go by 4 with like 50 seconds left. That was unbelievable. But, again, it's just kind of a back and forth at that point. Chris Middleton, again, able to score another bucket to get the Bucks up by 4. And really it was too little too late for the Suns at that point. Bucks closed the game. So, I mean, obviously, we got to start with Chris Middleton, right? He has been absolutely spectacular, really all playoffs. Obviously, he's been a little inconsistent at times, but that's just who Chris is. We've got to live with it because his highs are spectacular. I mean, 40 points in a huge must-win game for the Bucks. I mean, if they go down 3-1 in the series, I don't think they're able to win the series. I mean, this team is very resilient. They battled adversity all playoffs long, but I just don't know if the Bucks would have what it takes to be down 3-1, go play on the road at Phoenix, try to win that game and force a game 6 at home, and then win a game 7 on the road. I mean, that's just tough, but luckily we don't have to worry about that because Chris Middleton was absolutely phenomenal. Again, 40 points. This is his fourth 35-plus point game in the postseason. He had 0 35-plus point games all regular season. And in those games where he scored 35-plus, they were in huge pivotal games. The first one was game 3 against the Brooklyn Nets. Bucks down 0-2 in that series. Win a scrappy one, 86-83 at home. Chris putting up more than, I don't know what the exact point total was, but he had 35 plus. The second time he did that was game 6, elimination game against the Brooklyn Nets. Bucks down 3-2 after choking game 5 on the road. Chris was absolutely phenomenal in that game. I think he put up 38, if I remember right. And then the third one was game 3 against the Hawks, series tied 1-1 in Atlanta. That's when Chris had the 20-point fourth quarter to take home the victory for the Bucks. Another 35-plus point game for him. And obviously last night, a must-win, down 2-1. Got to defend home court. And what does Chris do? He just absolutely dominates. 14 points in the fourth quarter for Chris. I mean, he was just making shot after shot in that game late in the fourth quarter. Tough mid-range shots, some big threes. I mean, he was just, it was spectacular. There can't be any more Chris Middleton slander at this point in time. He's just been so good for the Bucks this whole playoff run. Another really interesting stat for Chris is he's in the last 25 years, him and LeBron James are tied for the most go ahead or tying or go ahead baskets in the fourth quarter of overtime in a whole postseason. He's got 15 of those shots. LeBron had 15 in 2007. So really just goes to show how clutch Chris Middleton has been throughout this whole entire playoffs. He is so much more of a different player than he was in the last 2 playoff runs. We saw glimpses of it last year when he carried the Bucks in the game 4 win against the Heat in the bubble. I think he might have had 50 in that game. I might be over exaggerating that. It was at least 40, but he balled in that game. Oh, it wasn't 50. I think it was close, upper 30s to 40, whatever. That was the one game like we really saw like that Chris Middleton that we've seen now. And then obviously in 2019, he was not that player at all. He came extremely short in the Raptors series and was a big reason why the Bucks weren't able to take home that Eastern Conference championship that year. But the Chris Middleton we are seeing now is really carrying this team when we need him most. And it's just awesome to see. He's such a great guy, and you just got to feel so good for him when he's had some tough moments in the past. Overall stat line for Chris, he gets 43 minutes in the game, 40 points, 15 for 33 from the field. So just a hair under 50%, which is very solid. 3 for 8 from 3, not bad. 7 of 8 from the free throw line. That's good. 6 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals for Chris, only 1 turnover. Again, this was the Chris Middleton game. He was just so freaking good. And you know, when we needed him most, he carried us through. So shout out to Chris Middleton. Let's talk about Giannis next. Didn't have his 3rd straight 40-point game in the finals, but still finishes with a respectable 26 points in 43 minutes, 11 for 19 from the field, missed both of his 3-pointers, 4 of 8 from the free throw line, not great after the 13 for 17 in game 3, 14 boards for Giannis, 8 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, including the block, and 1 turnover. Still, Giannis struggled a lot of this game, just scoring in the paint, still shooting well over 50%, which is good, but he was just struggling to find his rhythm. He wasn't as dominant. They were clearly throwing more bodies at Giannis, and he was definitely struggling with that. only with the one turnover, but it felt like he lost a couple balls at times too. But again, they were really triple teaming Giannis at times, and it was tough for him to score as well as he was in games 2 and 3. I figured that they were going to make some sort of adjustment. They're not just going to let Giannis continue to put up 40 plus points on him and just dominate the paint. Obviously, in game 3, he had a little bit more of a favorable matchup with DeAndre Ayton and foul trouble. Obviously, we didn't see that here in game 4. So again, Giannis still had a very, very nice game. He was absolutely elite defensively, though. Obviously, we saw the block. He came up with some other really big plays. 3 steals and 2 blocks really just says it all right there. I mean, Giannis on the defensive end showed that he is a worthy defensive player of the year like he was last season, first team all defense the last 2 years. I mean, he was just fantastic on the defensive end. That block is, again, one of the best plays in finals history. So for Giannis, you know, he played a great game. And one of the really nice things that we saw late in the game is when the offense was really struggling at times, you know, the Bucks finally went to something that they should have been going to a lot more, and that's just run pick and rolls with Giannis and Chris. I mean, it's either going to get and mainly when Chris has the ball, Giannis setting screens for Middleton, because when he does that, it's either going to get Chris a more favorable shot, a better shot, or he's going to be able to get it to Giannis in the paint when he's rolling to the basket. And that's just a nightmare for a defense to handle. I mean, clearly we've seen Chris Middleton just be so freaking good shooting the ball. And also I thought he was really good making plays for other guys last night. Only had 4 assists, but it felt like he was really making the right plays, only with 1 turnover again. So very good game for Chris in terms of just making good decisions and not turning the ball over. But again, having the ball in those 2 guys' hands and just running pick and roll actions and having the floor spaced out, it's harder when Brook Lopez is in the game because he clogs up the paint a little bit more. I know he still likes to sit out at the perimeter and shoot some 3-pointers, but we're definitely better spacing when Bobby Portis or Pat Connaughton are out there, and other than Brook Lopez. So again, late in that 4th quarter, we just saw the Bucks running those pick and rolls with Chris and Giannis, and it led to a lot of success. And we finally were able to just score baskets consistently, get some stops on the defensive end, and will ourselves to that win. It just felt like, again, we were just down like 4 or 6 points. They would always answer our baskets, and yeah, we had a few leads here and there, but then they would answer, get the lead back, and we just couldn't quite hold a lead until we finally started running those pick and roll actions with Chris and Giannis. So I really expect Bud to do that more often in the next few games here, because it's probably our most effective way to score the ball. So especially when Jrue Holiday is struggling, which is a perfect segue to Jrue Holiday. 43 minutes for him as well. So the big 3 each logging 43 minutes. Really like that amount for those guys. 13 points for Jrue on 4 of 20 from the field. Missed all 5 of his 3-pointers. Was 5 for 5 from the free throw line, which is nice to see from Jrue because he has struggled in the postseason from the free throw line. 7 boards, 7 assists, 3 steals for Jrue. And only 1 turnover. Obviously, rough night offensively. 4 for 20 from the field. All 5 of his 3-pointers were missed. That's not great, but his defense was absolutely fantastic. The impact he's making on Chris Paul is absolutely noticeable. In game 1, we saw Jrue Holiday guarding Devin Booker, and PJ Tucker was on Chris Paul. But in game 2, Coach Bud made an adjustment to have Jrue Holiday and Chris Paul, and it has made a big difference. In every game, we have seen that since then. Chris Paul erupted with over 30 points in game 1, but since then, his points have dropped. I think he had 23 in game 2, 19 in game 3, and 10 points in game 4. He's simply getting worn out by Jrue Holiday. Drew's picking him up full court, just making it hard on him, making him work. That's what you got to do with Chris Paul. You can't let him get to his spots in the mid-range just at will, because he's going to knock down those shots. And you can just see that Chris Paul looks gassed. He looks exhausted because Jrue Holiday is just getting up in his grill every single time he has the ball. I mean, that's got to make an impact. Jrue Holiday, first team all defense this year, maybe the best defensive guard in the league. And Chris Paul is really having a tough time with him. And that's huge because Chris Paul is really the Phoenix Suns' only playmaker. He's the only one who can make plays for other guys, and he really gets that offense going. Obviously, Devin Booker is their most effective player offensively and has the most skill sets on offense, but Chris Paul is totally the X factor for that team. He makes the offense go, and when he can't make his shots and really just even make plays for other guys, I really haven't seen him do much of that at all the last few games. He logged 7 assists, but really Chris Paul was just struggling. 10 points for Chris Paul in 37 minutes, 5 for 13 from the field, missed both of his 3-pointers. Again, 4 boards, 7 assists, and 5 turnovers. Chris Paul has 15 turnovers the last 3 games, actually 5 apiece in the last 3. I believe in rounds 2 and 3 against the Nuggets when they swept, and against the Clippers in the West Finals when he had when they won in 6. Chris Paul only had 13 turnovers in those 2 series combined. In the last 3 games, he has 15 turnovers. Chris Paul is known to be a very low turnover guy, but Jrue Holiday is really impacting him. And that's why for me, like, obviously I'd love to see Jrue have a more effective night offensively. But I mean, when he's playing defense like that and making things hard for Chris Paul, we have to live with the inconsistencies on offense, because his defense is just making so much of an impact. Jrue Holiday was still +8 in his 43 minutes in the game, which really just speaks to how well he played defensively. Bucks winning those minutes from Jrue Holiday by 8 points, even though he wasn't scoring the ball well. So Jrue, tough night for him offensively, but you know what? His defense is really making up for it, and he is just making a huge impact on Chris Paul, who really makes that team go. So I'll take that kind of night from Jrue. We got to live with the inconsistencies on offense for him. We'll touch on PJ Tucker a little bit. I mean, not much of an impact for him offensively. I mean, he scored 0 points, missed his only shot, which was a 3-pointer. 5 boards for PJ, 1 assist and 1 steal, 5 fouls as well. He just gets a terrible whistle. I just don't get it. I mean, there's a few times where he gets into guys a little bit too much, like as they're shooting the ball, and he'll get in the landing space or just kind of hit a guy in the hand after he shoots it. And the refs are always going to freaking call it, especially if it's Devin Booker. But anyways, I mean, PJ Tucker, he was still harassing Booker as much as he could, making it somewhat difficult on him, even though he still had a huge game. But you know what, PJ just kind of is what he is. Got to live with low scoring nights for him. And he's not really a net negative. I mean, we did lose his minutes by 3 points, but I mean, PJ Tucker is just out there to play defense and pick up key offensive rebounds, which he had 3 of those in the game. So overall, can't complain with what we got from PJ Tucker. Last starter here, Brook Lopez has seen his minutes decrease the last few games. I think he logged 28 minutes in game 2 and then 23 in game 3, only 19 in game 4, 14 points for Brook though in those 19 minutes, 4 of 9 from the field, missed all 5 of his 3-pointers. So he was 4 for 4 from 2, made all 6 of his free throws. Definitely the Bucks' most consistent free throw shooter. I mean, I guess Chris is too, but Brook is great on the free throw line. 1 board and 1 steal for Brook. They lost his minutes by 13, is a -13 for Brook Lopez. I mean, this is not a great series for him. You know, I thought that he should play more minutes after game 2 because he's just one of the Bucks' 4 best players, and it's hard to not play your 4th best player a lot of minutes in an NBA Finals series. But he's kind of getting played off the floor. He's really struggling. They're going at him defensively. And obviously he was a -13. I mean, that says it all. He was really struggling defensively. Devin Booker was going at him, getting him switched onto him. And we all know what happened there. So I was wrong in terms of thinking Brook Lopez should get more minutes. That's probably right where he's going to be, right around that 20-minute per game mark. We're going to have to see more of Bobby Portis because he's just a better matchup in this series than Brook Lopez is. I mean, Brook scoring those 14 points is huge. I mean, if he can do that consistently in the 18 to 20 minutes he's getting, that's absolutely phenomenal. But again, he's just really getting played off the floor defensively. I mean, just given the fact he scored 14 points and we lost his minutes by 13, that's a huge gap. So again, it's a trend that we're seeing here. Obviously game 3 was a little different just because we just dominated that game from start to finish, really. But again, Brook Lopez struggling in the series, still a great player, still going to get around 20 minutes a game, but I don't know if we can afford to play him much more because they're really going at him on defense. And that's really what's getting that offense going for the Phoenix Suns is attacking Brook Lopez. So expect to see more Bobby Portis minutes going forward. Perfect segue to Bobby Portis. Only 3 points for him in 20 minutes, 1 for 6 from the field, made his only 3-pointer, 5 boards, 1 steal, 1 block for Bobby. He had a huge block on Cameron Payne in the fourth quarter. Bobby +7 in the game. So we won his minutes by 7 points, even though he only scored 3 points. So for big Bobby Portis, man, I mean, he's playing well in this series. He's really trying defensively, and he's able to keep the guys in front of him. They're making some tough shots on him, but I don't think he's playing terrible defensively. And he got matched up on Devin Booker a bunch of times. And you know what? He held up okay. We're going to have to live with sometimes Devin Booker making these extremely contested shots, fadeaway shots, double clutch shots. I mean, he's just an elite offensive player. He's going to get his, and we're just going to have to live with it at times. As long as we're not just giving him wide open shots and we're making him work for it. It's just like Kevin Durant. Just got to make him work as much as possible. I think Bobby Portis has done a pretty good job of that. So 20 minutes for him is big. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets more, especially, if he's able to score the ball a little bit more. Obviously, he was a little bit better in game 3 offensively. But you know what? For Bobby, he's going to be a huge player in this series, and we're going to need him off the bench with Brooks struggling. Just need another big in there to give some energy, get some rebounds, some easy baskets in the paint. And that's exactly what Bobby Portis can do. We've seen it in this series. So expect to see him played right around that 20 minutes per game mark. And before we get on to Pat Connaughton, got to show off the shirt I bought last night. Freaking Bobby Portis shirt right here. This is the item of the game. It just came out last night. I got suckered into buying one. I had to do it. It's too cool of a shirt. I don't even care if Bobby Portis isn't back on the Bucks next year. I mean, I want him on the Bucks, obviously, but like in terms of buying the shirt, usually I would wait till I knew someone was around for longer, whether I'm buying a shirt or a jersey, but I don't even care. Bobby Portis is already a Bucks legend in my heart, and I had to buy the shirt. I'll be repping it a lot, so just had to show that one off to you guys. Pat Connaughton, big shot Pat, as I've been calling him all playoffs. Huge game for him. 32 minutes for Pat, 11 points, 4 for 9 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. Fairly efficient night for Pat offensively. 9 boards, 1 assist, 1 turnover. We won Pat Connaughton's minutes by 21. He was a +21, highest plus minus out of anyone on the Bucks who played in this game. I mean, he was great. I mean, he was struggling shooting the ball earlier on, but he hit some huge shots when we absolutely needed him most. And big shot Pat. He's hit these big shots all playoffs long against Brooklyn in game 7. Some big shots against the Hawks, against the Heat. He's just been so consistent. Well, maybe not as consistent, but he's just coming through when we need him the most. And again, he's just a guy who we need to play a lot of minutes in the series because our best lineup is the starters, except swapping Brook Lopez for Pat Connaughton. That is easily our best lineup. It's the lineup we saw in most of the Nets series. We were only going 6-man deep rotation throughout the last few games, and Pat Connaughton was logging 30 minutes a game in those few against the Nets. And that's exactly what we're going to need from him in this series. I mean, 9 rebounds for a guard like him. He had some huge plays in the late fourth quarter. I think it was when Chris missed a 3. Pat Connaughton was able to get a putback shot in the paint after he picked up the offensive rebound. It was like a midair tip in. I mean, he was just big time, and he's just making huge plays for this team, and he's really just been unbelievable. It's crazy how the Bucks are kind of like relying on Pat Connaughton to make big shots late in these games sometimes, but honestly, it's paid off, and I don't see, I think we got to keep going to him in some of those spots because he's been known to make those shots, even on the road in game 7 against the Nets. So again, big shot Pat, couldn't be more proud of him. So happy to see him playing well. I've been a Pat Connaughton supporter all year. People have been ripping him all freaking year. I had the big debate on the Give Me a Buck podcast with G from What the Buck podcast, where there was a question, Pat versus Wara, who should get more minutes, and he was all about Wara, and I was all about Pat. I wasn't giving up on him. I was getting ripped on by people on Twitter supporting Pat Connaughton, and I'm being loud and proud about it now because Pat has played so freaking well this whole playoff run, and I'm gonna gloat about it because I've been a supporter of Pat all year. So another huge game for Pat, and he's gonna have to play 30 minutes a game throughout the rest of the series because the Bucks just don't really have many other options to go to. Jeff Teague, talk about Jeff Teague here. 11 minutes for him, 2 points. Only those points were from 2 free throws, made both of them. 1 board, 1 assist for Jeff Teague. He was only at -3, so he only lost those minutes by 3 points. No Bryn Forbes in this game. Jeff Teague is taken over Bryn Forbes' spot in the rotation, and quite honestly, I'm okay with it. I think Jeff Teague is just a better option. He's a little bit better defensively. He's actually made it a little tough on Chris Paul at times. Obviously, you don't really want him guarding many other guys, maybe obviously Cam Payne too, but you don't really want him on a Devin Booker or anyone else for that matter. But I honestly don't think Jeff Teague has been that bad. He had a rough game in game 3, but we played so well in the game, it didn't matter. And I thought he played decently well in games 1 and 2. And I'm okay with him getting right around that 5 to 10 minutes per game mark because we almost need it at this point. I mean, I expect the Bucks rotation to get thinner as the series goes on, just like we saw in the Brooklyn series. Games 5, 6, and 7, they really only went to like a 6-man rotation with Pat off the bench, and then they sprinkled in Forbes like 5 to 10 minutes a game. Bobby Portis wasn't playing at all. That was it. 7-man and then really just 6-man. Bryn Forbes got like 5 minutes, I think, in game 7 against the Nets. So I expect to see that going forward, but I think Teague's still going to get some run here as long as he just isn't atrocious because he's at least a guy who can run the offense, dribble the ball up, just get the offense going. I mean, we don't have any other guy on the bench who can really do that. Dante was usually that guy as the backup point guard when Drew was out of the game, but obviously Dante's hurt, so Jeff Teague sliding into that role. And I don't think he's been absolutely terrible. I mean, it just helps to have him get a little bit of minutes and spell Drew Holiday for a bit because we're going to need Drew to play 45 minutes a game here to close out the series. So I think we're going to see more of Jeff Teague, and unless he's really bad, I think they're going to stick with him, and honestly, I'm okay with it. So that's my rundown of the players here. Let's talk about some of the key things overall in the game in terms of how the Bucks were able to close this one out. One big thing here, Bucks 17 offensive rebounds and only 5 for the Phoenix Suns. In total rebounds, the Bucks out-rebounded the Suns 48-40, but really that key is the offensive rebounds, 17-5. The Bucks just have more size. I mean, DeAndre Ayton's a big for them, but we've got a lot of size in there. Obviously, when Brook Lopez is in, he's really active on getting some offensive rebounds. Pat Connaughton had 3 offensive rebounds. Drew Holiday had 3. Giannis with 5. PJ Tucker with 3. I mean, those guys are just always active on getting second chance opportunities for the Bucks. And usually when you get offensive rebounds, you're going to have a really efficient look for a second chance opportunity because a lot of times you're rebounding it right by the basket and you can just put it right back up, or you can give it to someone who's cutting or a wide open shooter. So offensive rebounds oftentimes lead to very efficient shots, and it's huge for the Bucks. That advantage is probably going to be seen the rest of the series. The Suns are really small. Outside of DeAndre Ayton, their biggest guy is Torrey Craig. And they're just not a great rebounding team in general. So that's really a big advantage that the Bucks have in this series is just getting the rebounds, specifically offensive rebounds. And I don't see that changing throughout the rest of the series. So that was one big thing for me that I noticed in the game. Another one was the turnover differential, 17 turnovers for the Suns to 5 for the Bucks. Felt like the Bucks had more. We played really sloppy a lot of that first half and even the third quarter. But still, Suns, a lot of turnovers, and it led to a lot of easy baskets for the Bucks. So again, like I said earlier, Drew Holiday being active on Chris Paul, that's leading to a lot of turnovers for Chris Paul, which we usually don't see from him. Drew Holiday's just making really tough on these guys. So that's a really big thing. I don't expect that discrepancy to be that large. It could easily be flip-flopped even in the next game. Excuse me. So turnovers are a little bit more hard to predict. Rebounding, I think, should stay right around the same, but I don't expect us to win the turnover battle like that, but I still think that Drew Holiday is going to be able to get into Chris Paul's head and get him some more turnovers. So that was a really big thing for me, especially late in the game. Chris Paul just fumbling the ball late in that fourth quarter. They had another turnover as well late in the fourth. I mean, those are big time plays. The Bucks were just clutch at the end, and the Suns really came short, turning the ball over. So that was another big thing for me in the game. Let's talk officiating a little bit. It was horrendous. I mean, we witnessed a first-time thing in the NBA Finals. Devin Booker, first guy to score 40-plus points and have 7 fouls in a finals game. I just don't get how they didn't call that foul when Devin Booker hugged Drew Holiday when he was going up for a layup. If you look at the close-up, he's literally holding him, and they don't call it. And then when we go up 4 points, 103-99 after the Giannis block, Devin Booker hacked Chris Middleton. It should have been an and one. I thought they called a foul. I couldn't hear anything because it was so loud in there, but I just assumed that they called a foul. And then there was a timeout, and then like the Suns just had the ball. Or like, what the hell's going on? Like that should have been a foul. He hacked him. Even Devin Booker went to the bench after. It was either the Drew Holiday one or the. I think it was after the Drew Holiday one where he just went to the bench because he thought he fouled out. And they're like, no, you didn't foul out, which is a joke. I mean, the officiating was just horrendous. Devin Booker is such a freaking flopper. I honestly can't stand the guy. I usually always become enemies of the guys who we're playing against in every series, the star player. But I don't know. I don't enjoy Devin Booker's game at all. Yeah, he's great, but he flops all the freaking time. He's whining to the refs all the time. Just like Luka Doncic, anytime he gets called for a foul, he's always complaining to the refs. It's like you don't see like guys on the Bucks doing that. Chris Middleton is getting hacked in this game. He got hit in the head on what should have been an and one by Mikal Bridges. I mean, he got hacked by Devin Booker. Other times he was getting hacked, no calls. I mean, it's just a joke. Devin Booker gets touched and he gets calls, kicks his foot out and gets calls. It's just ridiculous. How much the refs are favoring the Suns, and the Bucks still are able to overcome that. Feels like every single series we are not getting the calls at all, and it's just a joke. I'm so sick of the officiating. I'm not going to go over it much more, but I just again had to mention the first time 40-plus point game and 7 fouls for Devin Booker. So props to him on that one. But I'm sick of that guy. I can't stand him. Jay Crowder, even him, he flopped so much in that game. It's just a joke. I mean, I hate the Suns team. I'll be quite honest with you. I liked them more in the regular season, but I'm really seeing their true colors right now, and I just can't stand them. Really, Jay Crowder and Devin Booker specifically. I don't really hate everyone else, but those guys are tainting it for me. So officiating was absolutely horrendous, so bad. We're so lucky that didn't cause the Bucks to lose that game. Not lucky, but I'm just glad we're not talking about that today, that the reason the Bucks lost the game is because of officiating. I mean, I'm not saying that would have been the reason, but it would have been something that everyone would be talking about. So thank God we don't have to worry about that. So yeah, I mean, really after that, just a great game by the Bucks. We'll touch on the Suns a little bit here. Obviously, Chris Paul, rough game, only 10 points. DeAndre Ayton as well, 6 points in 39 minutes, 3 for 9 from the field. He did have 17 boards, 5 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 turnovers. He has struggled a lot. You know, I think that Giannis is playing really good defense on him. And especially the thing that impacts DeAndre Ayton the most is what Drew Holiday is doing to Chris Paul, because Chris Paul really gets DeAndre Ayton going offensively on the pick and rolls, alley-oops. He just gets him involved and gets him efficient baskets. Without Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton was not this player that he is this year on the Suns. He has not been even close to this player. He's really emerged in this playoff run as a very good center, a young center in this league. But without Chris Paul, his game definitely deteriorates. And again, just a testament to how great Drew Holiday has been defensively, because it not only affects Chris Paul, also affects DeAndre Ayton. So I think that's an important note to make as well. When Chris Paul struggles, usually Ayton does as well. Jay Crowder, 15 points for him. He's the second leading scorer, 3 for 9 from 3, 3 for 10 from the field, made 6 of 7 free throws, 8 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Wow. 3 steals, 3 blocks. That's crazy. Didn't even realize that. He did have a really nice game defensively, but he's such a flopper. Can't stand the guy, but he started off hot from 3-point land. Again, he was 6 for 7 in game 3. He shoots really well in Milwaukee. He went to Marquette. He likes it here, so maybe that's why. But he definitely cooled down in the game. But he made a big impact defensively. And I think the Bucks are doing a good job on him. They're giving him too many open looks, but he wasn't able to knock them all down, luckily. So I expect Jay Crowder to probably play better at home because all of the role players play better at home. Mikal Bridges has been a non-factor in Milwaukee. 26 points for him. 26 minutes, 7 points, 5 boards, no assists, no steals, 1 block. He hasn't done anything since game 2. And he's going to be one of those guys who's going to play better when they go back home. So expect to see that. From their bench, not much production. Cam Johnson, very efficient game from him, though. 29 minutes, 10 points, 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 1 board, 1 assist, 1 block. He's a great player. He's really shot it well all series. He's really emerged this playoff run. I thought he was trash earlier in the regular season, to be honest, but he really has stepped it up in this playoff run, and he makes some tough shots. Really all series and all playoff long. So that's a guy you really don't want to leave open. You don't want to get him going because he really, really gets that offense going. And he's like the Pat Connaughton for them off the bench. He's more prolific offensively, but he's their main guy off the bench who's playing around 30 minutes a game and impacts the game the most off the bench. So that's a guy you really don't want to get going. Other than that, Cam Payne, 9 points in 17 minutes. Torrey Craig, 4 points in 15 minutes. They didn't play Frank Kaminsky in this game. I expect that to continue going forward unless Ayton gets in foul trouble early. So again, not much for the bench there. And obviously, with Devin Booker picking up his 5th foul in the 4th quarter, that was huge for the Bucks. He was in a huge rhythm in that 3rd quarter, just making tough shot after tough shot. We were playing great D on him. There's not much you can do about it. But luckily, we were able to get him in foul trouble. He came out early in the 4th, came in around with 7.5 minutes left. The Suns still were able to hold that lead. But again, the Bucks they came through and they absolutely needed to. And I really think that's going to carry some momentum for the Bucks. I'm feeling pretty good about Bucks in 6 at this point. Call me crazy, but I just think being able to win a grinder game like that is just going to give the Bucks a lot of momentum. We did not play well at all in that whole game. The Suns didn't play great either, but Devin Booker was amazing. Obviously, Chris Middleton was amazing too, but again, I think the Bucks have all the momentum here. Not saying that's all that matters. The Suns crowd is going to be buzzing. It's going to be nuts there. The role players always play better at home, so expect the Bridges, the Crowders, the Cam Johnsons, the Cam Paynes to play better at home because that's just the trend that we've seen in years and years in the playoffs. But I still think the Bucks are able to take this one. I think that we're just going to come out aggressive. The best chance for us to win the series is to win game 5 and then close it out in game 6 at home. And I just think the Bucks are just going to have that mentality and they're going to come out swinging in that game and just play harder than the Suns. I really think they're going to win game 5 and win game 6 at home in front of me and all the home fans at the game because I will be there for game 6. Was there for games 1 and 2 or games 3 and 4. Definitely not missing game 6. So I really feel good about Bucks in 6 in this one. Am I extremely confident about it? No, but my gut's telling me we're going to win this one in 6. I just think that this Bucks team is different. Just seeing that this Bucks teams in years past would never win a game like that. And just that game, I think it's just going to bring them so much energy and they're just going to play their ass off and grind out a close win. I'm going to go Bucks 111-105 in game 5 on the road, and Bucks come back home in game 6 to close it out. We'll get there after that point, but I'm feeling good about it. I really am. And I cannot wait to watch game 5. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a tough game. Suns are going to play much better. I just think the Bucks are going to be able to outmatch them. I really think the Bucks are the better team. I take Giannis over any of the Suns. Chris Middleton, Devin Booker. Honestly, it's pretty close between them. Chris Middleton has shown that he is a clutch player, and I think he's going to come through big in game 5 as well. I'd say Devin Booker is a little bit better, but not much. Devin Booker is inconsistent as well. So is Chris Middleton, but I'll give a slight edge to Booker, but Middleton's not far behind him. Jrue Holiday over Chris Paul. Honestly, I'd probably take Jrue Holiday. Um, his defense is just so huge. It impacts so many things. He's making it really tough on Chris Paul. It impacts DeAndre Ayton. His offense is obviously inconsistent, but Chris Paul's an old player. He's wearing down in this series. You can tell he's gassed, and Jrue Holiday is just getting in his head. So in this kind of series, I'd take Jrue Holiday. Is Chris Paul a better player? Yeah, he's a better player. But right now in this series, give me Jrue Holiday. And I think the Suns probably have the edge in terms of role players like Crowder, Bridges, Cam Johnson. But I just think this Bucks team is better. They're battle tested. They faced adversity all playoffs long, and I think they're going to be able to close this one out in 6. And I cannot wait to watch Game 5 Saturday night in Phoenix. Thanks again, guys, for checking this one out. I'll have a post Game 5 pod after that. Hopefully, we'll be up 3-2 and ready to take home Game 6 on Tuesday night. So hope you enjoyed this one, and go Bucks.